Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the New Ulm Planning Commission, New Ulm, Minnesota, Thursday, January 25th, 2018, 4:30 p.m. Our first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the New Ulm Planning Commission meeting held on December 28th, 2017.
Motion to approve is presented.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? None being said. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, approve the minutes of the New Ulm Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting held November 30th, 2017.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None. Motion carried. Item 3 is a public hearing to A, consider the applicant of Matt Mathewitz on behalf of Prairie Land Development LLP requesting the following approvals for the proposed plot of the Fairhills Sixth Addition. Item 1 is the lot depth variance for Lot 18, Block 2, 125 feet required of 107.81 feet provided. Look for staff for.
You can see as in your packet, it's a variance request for the Prairie Land Development, Fairhills Addition. Right now it's Outlot's 127, the street address 1314 to 1422 Maplewood Drive. It's currently zoned RA. It's being proposed as zoned R2 for single and two family resident districts. If you go to the map that's provided in your packet, the lot depth one is lot 18, and as you can see on that, if you increase it, it's 107.81 is what we've got for a lot depth there because of the corner, the way it's situated, and 125 is required for a lot. As you can see, it's a fairly decent sized lot.
Yeah, our lot area requirement in the R1 zone, which is the eventual zoning of this property, is 8,000 square feet. And I think if you look at the acreage amount, you'll find that we probably are almost double, that requirement. So there's more than adequate lot area, for the parcel. The property could have been platted in such a fashion that they would comply with that requirement, but then you would have ended up with some real odd property lines for some of the adjoining lots, and from staff, in the staff's opinion, the solution would have been worse than going the variance route.
Are we going to take these like item 1 and 2 combined together as one motion, or you want to do them separately?
I would do them as one, both variance requests as one motion.
As one motion. Okay. Well, I'm going to close the public hearing and then look for the commission's thoughts on.
Do you first want to have the staff provide information on the twin home, or you've received enough information on that?
I think we did enough information.
I think I would be fine on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we've got the twin homes already. It's just a continuation as the street progresses.
Right.
Correct.
So you're looking for a motion?
We'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion granting the variance for number 1.
We doing them together or
We're
single?
doing them together.
Oh, we are, okay. And number 2.
I'll second that.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None being said, motion carried. Item B is to consider the petition of Tim Ray, a partner in Prairie Land Development, LLP, requesting the following. That part of Outlot 127 be rezoned from RA, Agricultural Residence District, to R2, Single and Two-Family Residence District, and that part Outlot of 127, 128, 129, 130, and 131 be rezoned from RA Agricultural District to R1 Single Family District. Guess we'd look for staff.
Okay. I would note that if you look at Exhibit A to the petition, the full legal descriptions for both parcels is provided. The street addresses for the property is 1314 to 1422 Maplewood Drive. Notice of the public hearing has been sent to all property owners within 350 feet of the subject property. Property is generally located west of Turner Road, east of Ryan Road, south of US Highway 14, and north of Maplewood Drive. Property is undeveloped and formerly was a gravel pit. The property proposed for rezoning will be platted as Fairhills Sixth Addition. The following parcels within the proposed plat are petitioned for rezoning. To R1, Lot 1 through 8 of Block 1, Lot 1 through 18 of Block 2, and Lot 5 through 7 of Block 3. To R2 is Lot 1 through 4 of Block 3. Property to the east is zoned R1 and R2. To the north, B2, which is a service business district. To the west and south, RA and R1. Property to the east consists of vacant lots and single-family dwellings. To the north, there's US Highway 14. To the west, single-family dwellings. And to the south, Maplewood Park and gravel mining operations. The city's comprehensive plan designates the subject property for low-density residential land uses. The zoning petition states that the rezoning would allow for the future construction of twin homes on the R2 zone property and single-family dwellings on the R1 zone property. Utilities to serve the property are located in Birchwood Drive, Ryan Road, and Maplewood Drive. Recommendations on rezoning requests are to be based on consideration of the following criteria. There are 3. Number 1 is whether the proposed rezoning corrects an error in the original zoning text or map, or 2, whether the proposed rezoning addresses needs arising from a changing condition, trend, or fact affecting the subject property and surrounding area. A third criteria, which stands by itself, is whether the proposed rezoning is consistent with achieving the goals and objectives outlined in the comprehensive plan. The rezoning must meet one of the first 2 criteria listed above. Attached is the zoning petition, including legal descriptions, the zoning map of this area, the land use map from the city's comprehensive plan, and an aerial photograph of the property. Staff would recommend approval of the rezoning for the following reasons. The rezoning meets one of the first 2 criteria described above for the rezoning of property. The rezoning addresses a changing condition, trend, or fact affecting the subject property and surrounding area. The property adjoins developed areas with similar land uses and zoning classifications. Number 2, the property is in the process of being platted to accommodate land uses permitted in the requested zoning districts. Number 3, the property is a logical location for future low-density residential development. 4, there are available utilities to serve the property. And 5, the comprehensive designates the property for low-density residential land uses. The next item has to do with potential motions, and 2 motions are provided for this particular request, 1 to approve and 1 to deny. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we'll look for a motion.
Staff, were there any comments from any of the people that were mailed this
No.
information?
We received no written or verbal comments from anybody.
I'll make the motion then to recommend approval of the petition to rezone from RA to R1 and R2 for the property legally described in Exhibit A of the petition, with reasons listed in the staff recommendation report, Section 8.
I'd second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None being said, motion carried. Item 4, consider for approval the final plot of Fairhills Sixth Addition.
Okay, the applicant in this particular case is Matt Mathewitz. The property owner is Prairie Land Development, LLP. Current legal description is part of Outlots 127, 128, 129, 130, and 131. Street address 1314 to 1422 Maplewood Drive. The zoning of the property has just been discussed. The status of the plat, the City Council approved the preliminary plat with conditions at its January 2nd, 2018 meeting. Some of the information on the plat we just went through with the rezoning, so I'm going to skip some items. The property is undeveloped and formerly was a gravel pit. The platted area totals 13.81 acres. The current comprehensive plan designates the property for low-density residential land uses. The comprehensive plan does not designate a park within the platted area. Utilities to serve the site adjoin the property. Status of conditions required for plat approval include the following. A, pay the platting fee of $1,140. That payment is pending. B, provide an electronic file, the plat in AutoCAD 2000 or newer format. That notification has been provided to the applicant and land surveyor. C, determine parkland dedication requirements. Options are currently being reviewed by the applicant. D, enter into a development agreement. The agreement is pending. E, provide necessary utility easements. Easements have been provided on the plat. Secure necessary variances. Applicant has applied for those variances. Rezone appropriate parcels of property from RA to R1 or R2. The applicant has submitted a petition requesting the rezonings. And finally, H, they need to provide a name for the unnamed street, and applicant has been notified of that requirement. Attached is a copy of the final plat, an aerial photograph of the property, and then a map of the Maplewood Drive area. The staff's recommendation would be to approve the final plat subject to the completion of the conditions, and then potential motions are provided. I would like to have you briefly look at the map that was provided with this particular staff report. It's the last one. At our last meeting, there was discussion about is there parkland provided for the future residents of this area. And you will note on this map, North Garden Street is at the top of the map. US Highway 14 is on the left side. And you can see the area where Fairhills Sixth Addition will sit. And then to the south of that is Maplewood Park. So if you go down to the bottom of the map, we provided some information about the park. It consists of 6.88 acres. There is a stormwater retention pond within that park area, and that's approximately 2.53 acres. So we end up with a net park area of 4.35 acres. The standard for a neighborhood park is normally 4 to 10 acres. So that is the reason why staff has discussed with the with Prairie Land representatives their interest in providing some additional park area, which would be located on the west side of Maplewood Park. So west being going towards the bottom of the page. And we're looking at, you know, approximately maybe 2 more acres. And if, you know, any agreement on that matter would probably be contained in the development agreement.
Do we have any concerns about putting a holding pond in a park within the city, as far as with kids?
It's not uncommon to find holding ponds in that kind of location. In suburban areas, I've seen ponds on school sites. So it's you know, something that you need to be aware of, I guess. I guess if it's felt to be a major concern, you can fence it. A lot of times you have vegetation which obstructs the ability of people to actually get to the water.
Look at the one down by the hospital.
Yeah.
In front of the hospital.
Yeah.
Sure. So I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to consider the applicant, or the final addition for Fairhills Sixth Addition with the addition, what he mentioned on the parks, for the trying to obtain the extra 2 acres. Is that basically what we need?
Or is the park thing not part of this?
We have to mention the park thing in the,
I think that would be part of the development, covered under the
Okay.
development agreement, that we would address that. They're going to have to make a parkland dedication. It would either be in the form of cash, or it could be, in this particular case, a land contribution. So they will contribute something, you know, for that purpose.
so I'd make make a consideration for the Fairhills Sixth Addition.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Item 5, receive report on city council decisions concerning planning commission matters in January 2018.
Okay, at the council's January 2nd meeting, they approved the mayor's 2018 appointments, and that included for Mr. Karnitz and Mr. Golden another 3-year term, which would be their second. They approved with conditions the application of Brianne Tegrutenhouse requesting a conditional use permit to produce and sell a small amount of baked goods at 2412 Dakota Drive. And I will note that she did bring cookies to the city council. And they were good.
They were very good.
Approved the zoning of the property at 2204 Jacob Street as I-1. That's a planned industrial district. and authorized the use of this zoning designation in the resolution annexing the property into the city. And I might note that we just received notice that the annexation has been completed and authorized by the state. They approved with conditions the preliminary plat of Fairhills Sixth, and then they approved a resolution authorizing the annexation of the property. At the January 16th meeting, they considered modification of the existing blight ordinances that are found in the city code, and to address that particular issue, they established a committee to review current requirements and potentially make a recommendation to maintain what we have or to make some changes. Sometimes those kind of topics or items find their way into zoning ordinances. Sometimes they don't. Kind of varies by community. That's it.
And thank you, Dave. Item 6 would be receive report on Heritage Preservation Commission activities.
We didn't have a meeting due to the holiday. It's coming up here on Monday the 29th. So I'll report next month.
Okay. Thank you, Elwood. No further business. Meeting adjourned.